We will be kicking things off on Ruins, and we do see Nova Esports already moving over to a Winston Goats. We are Eternal on a Rhine Goats.
And this is an interesting sort of matchup where the Rhine is going to outpace the Winston when you get towards the ultimate phases with the Earth Shadows, but for Nova, they do get that early leap in, they do get some early area control.
Yeah, stun onto Nexus, but it's not as punishing as when you get the stun onto Isen, and actually it's Amgyo the first casualty as Amgyo was fishing for another shield bash stun, so that gives Nova a lot of space over this point as it unlocks.
Yep, and they're going to be able to get this early cap as well. So now for Nova Esports, just need to hold down the space a little bit longer. They do have a slight advantage on some of these ultimates here, but otherwise, we're Eternal have managed to keep up.
Just looking to barrage out as these members make the approach. But Crazy S taking a bit of pain here. They do need to be careful for that. They haven't really traded back in terms of the damage just yet. Nexus is low as well. Nice collapse by Rue Eternal to finish him off. Amgyo does get low, but doesn't get punished for it. It's now Restia taking some damage. Able to give them the slip for the time being, but you see Blue off to the side. A lot of charge, but struggling to get the damage through now as the rally comes out from Amgyo. This is just a bit of a tight spot. We are Eternal looking like they should just be able to muscle Nova off the point at this juncture.
We're still waiting for the Graviton out of Blue as well. That's got to be the turnaround.
Ooh, Jasmine gets the grab first, though. That's a big shift in momentum, and off the back of that, We Are Eternal will indeed be able to secure their fight win and the point, respectively.
And now we're heading to the stage where Ison is coming up to the Earth Shadow as well. Nexus is very close to the Primal Rage, but there needs to be a decision made here. Does Nexus go onto the Rhine to potentially block out the Shadow, or does he value that 90% charge? And, well, the answer is he really wants to get that Primal in. So what you're going to see now is We Are Eternal Gaming should likely break this Winston bubble, then just go for the free Shadow.
And that's the thing, it is just a point of power that you have when you've got the Rhine in this situation. But Blue, if he can get a decent grab down, could just throw a spanner into that. Works. Earth Shadow went through.
Stunned out.
Yeah, stunned. Excellent timing on that one. Out from one. Charge in as well. Sound barrier is there. Blue didn't get the grab connection. I believe that got eaten by Kana. And now the damage onto Ison. Primal Rage out from Nexus, and it has paid off. Self-destruct doesn't quite find anything, but now, just with that little bit of numbers advantage, Nova can at least force We Are Eternal back, maybe get a flip in here, but at the very least, they've got good positioning for the rest of the fight. Jasmine trying to turn it around, and a self-destruct placed in the mix there does find Restia, and Nexus is too low to stay in the fight, so actually, We Are Eternal able to rally off the back of that ultimate.
It's a good rescue there as well, because they survived the Graviton Surge from Blue, or were able to eat it, despite not landing the Earth Shadow. Well played once again by One for getting the shield bash onto Ison as he was channeling that one out. Waiting for the Graviton Surge from Jasmine, connecting that one onto a couple members, and then cleaning up. Now we're Eternal Gaming sitting at a bit of a lead in terms of the progress here, 65% and counting on top at this point. No one has any ultimate, so it's just going to be an even fight. Nexus now onto the Rhine.
And that's the thing, that's the best they can kind of do for the time being. Ison will have that Earth Shadow, though, available now. It's on Nova to try and find a good way in. The Earth Shadow doesn't get too much done, unfortunately. Crazy S went down on his back, but no one finished him off. That's a Rhine casualty on the side of Nova, but they've traded back with Kana's mech now, and Ison's low. He's having to back out, likely to go down here. Yeah, nice follow-up around the side. The grab maybe not too necessary, but at any rate, Nova do regain control.
At 91% as well. They flip it back over for themselves on the Nova side. Do have a Transcendence to try and block out the damage coming through from the follow-up on the Graviton Surge. But as Jasmine is going to be posturing for this We Are Eternal Gaming, if they win one fight here, they are going to take this round.
That's the thing, they're just in a good position for the time being. They've kind of got the ultimate advantage. It's really still on Nova to find their way into a successful fight. Ideally with the Earth Shadow. Oh yeah, that connects. Too far forward, great connection. And they're just split up enough that Transcendence can't cover everyone, but they've kind of weathered the storm here, even finding an environmental on one, and now flips back away of Eternal. They are looking like they should be able to catch this. Yeah, nice grab. Nexus goes down in it, and Nova there on the back foot here, losing Rescue to a Fire Strike. We Are Eternal poised to take the point back, and at 91%, I don't know that Nova are going to get another contest in here, especially with the late DMech on Crazy S.
And Oreo had already used the Transcendence as well. This just means that Nova Esports don't have anything to really defend against the grab. This should be the game over there on 99%.
Ooh, nice touch by Restia, but he trades his life for it, and one goes in to keep the overtime. It was already very low, so it is just these last few seconds of overtime with no contest there, as We Are Eternal going to take the first map of Ilios.
Yeah, well played in terms of maintaining those support ultimates towards the end there for We Are Eternal. They got shattered, but instantly you saw the Transcendence come through, and then the sound barrier to press go for them to actually make that attack happen. Combine that with the Graviton Surge to just commit all these ultimates that are just overpowering Nova Esports, allowing them to get the cleanup up to the fight. Already at 91%, they get the flip over, just get 9% more, go into the overtime, they finish that round, and now up 1-0 on Ilios.
Now moving forward onto Well. This is largely what we've seen a lot of so far. Not perfectly so, but it's kind of a cross between a bunker combo to Super McCree. You got the Orisa in there, but really you're just wanting to get a lot of protection on McCree.
Yeah, it's in terms of Super McCree, it's even more defensive. It's even more protection for the actual McCree. The Orisa's going to do a great job of healing additionally, as well as having that double shield bash with double stuns, shield bash and flashbang. This early sort of damage poke, it's going to come down to who can maintain shield HP better and who can deal more damage to the HP of the shield on the other side.
And look at one's ult charge. He's just been able to drill those shields down from We're Eternal so much quicker. Grace going down to a bash from Blue as well. There should be early positioning for Nova on the point now. We're Eternal just kind of moving back, ceding ground. So
it's going to be a full retreat from We're Eternal as they wait for Grace, and you'll notice that Grace tried to go for a sneaky sound wave or boot play onto the high ground, onto the high wall, really. Got found out, got shield bash, got instantly shut down as well. Now for Nova, collecting the early camp, just waiting for the spam damage again. Amgyo is actually going to change to a Hanzo. This is a decent adaptation because if you can get the Dragon Strike, it's going to do quite well against an Orisa.
At the very least, it forces them to move. Oh, threads the needle on one. That's a big casualty on the side of Nova. And that means they're very lacking for damage here unless they can get some environmental killed or at the very least last long enough for one to rejoin. They might be in a bit of trouble here. They do have to get off the point for a moment now. As now a kill comes through onto Nexus, they're not going to be able to fully regroup here. They might just have to start retreating.
That's such an amazing headshot from Amgyo as well. It's going to give them the team fight win. It should give them the cap. Nova just, unfortunately, they haven't decided to retreat. They tried to stay in, one returns, but they already got themselves demeched. He got a demech on Takana in response, but that's about all that they're going to get. Now you're looking at a Dragon Strike availability for Amgyo as well. Coming into this next fight, as soon as Nova want to set up with their bunker, it's going to be a Dragon Strike directly into the center.
And that's the thing. Losing one, maybe you could survive. It was the second casualty. Nova should have done the disciplined thing and retreated, but now they are at least able to address the fight with all 6 members. Just a little worse for wear in terms of those ultimates.
The good news is Oreo does have Transcendence. You expect that one to counter out?
As the Deadeye's being channeled as well, which means there's no way for one to avoid it quickly. Nice halt to ensure they were all stuck in it. Really great coordination out of We're Eternal, and that's a pretty quick, smart fight win.
And that was a Transcendence used as well, and it's a little bit late, and you wanted to see it just as the Dragon Strike comes through. That way you block the maximum amount of damage possible. With Nova Esports, already lost a couple members, got nothing out of the Deadeye from one as well, so now just at a massive deficit in terms of the ult economy for We're Eternal Gaming. Just use themselves Dragon Strike, combo that one up, halt. It's going to be another fight now.
And they've got a Deadeye for it. Oh, nice early catch and counter as well. Good wraparounds. Blue really playing on the edge there, but it totally pays off for Nova. They find a way into the fight. Drew that Deadeye out of Jasmine as well, who's just had to turn tail and run. That was exactly the kind of maneuver Nova needed.
Nova just kind of catch We're Eternal Gaming out there. They didn't notice there was a huge flank coming on the sides. Before they knew it, they had players going down. They lost the mech on Takana as well. The Deadeye response from Jasmine doesn't get any counter trades because there was a sound barrier used by Restia, which just allows Nova to continually push onto We're Eternal, who also used that supercharger. So now that ult advantage that they originally had kind of dissipates here.
Now Nova, they're actually with the ultimate advantage. Strike available, self-destruct forward. Hard to avoid. Void, that's really rough. That is a huge ultimate out of the picture now. They are a little worse for wear. Transcendence from John Woo, and they throw the Dragon Strike across. Oh, gets Nexus, was not able to move quickly enough. Crazy yes. That self-destruct gets blocked out by Ison's shield there, and Ambio keeping the damage on between him and Jasmine. I think Nova are just going to have to cop a loss on this one. At this point, they are trying to stall to get up to about a 99%, which they should be able to accomplish, so not all bad considering the fight loss.
And for We're Eternal, again, just using the Halt and the Dragon Strike combo for themselves, collect the kill into Nexus. Really important for them to have these kind of ults still available for Nova Esports. Despite losing that, like you said, they're up to like 97 instead of 99, but still extremely good. For We're Eternal Gaming, they still need to win one more fight to secure this, push themselves up to their own overtime.
Both teams do come in with a decent amount of tools, a Deadeye, and then a defensive ultimate apiece. It's going to be about who manages to get the connection. Crazy yes, trying to find a wrap rope. Jasmine! What? Nexus' shield must have gone down. That's so huge. I think We're Eternal just take it off the back of this. Flashbang onto Crazy S means he's going to take a dive down the well itself. Finds no gold coins at the bottom. I think We're Eternal got this. Who can even stall here?
Oyo's got to jump on with Transcendence. It's about the only real options they have. Restia makes it just in time.
Nexus got on there as well with the Wrecking Ball, and there's the Transcendence, so Oyo is able to regroup, but no, Nexus is already down. This is not looking good for Nova unless they get some insane picks. Oyo does find Jasmine, that's one. Blue finds Grace, which is two. This is potentially doable, but with Crazy S so low, Blue now dead. Restia was not there to heal everyone. I don't think he's going to get to the point in time either. Oh, just barely touches it, but he's going to lose his life pretty quick, smart, and Nexus is not there in time to continue stalling. We're Eternal are going to take out Ilios.
There's a valiant final effort there coming through for Nova, but the damage was just so well done. Jasmine, they have the triple kill into the Deadeye, the timing on getting the shield down, and then no responses coming through from the Deadeye on the Nova side. It was just all one-sided. Then the Dragon Strike towards the end there, it was just so consistent by both Amgio and the McCree player. I'm already forgetting names here. But Jasmine, that's correct. And then when you look at the We're Eternal Gaming side, just right towards the end there, the fights they needed to win, they lost a point, so they kept it back at 97% for the Nova side. They knew they still needed to win one more fight there, get that fight win, really convincing as well, and then came back and just finished everything off.
That was just a bit of a tough break for Nova. You've really got to credit We're Eternal there, though, because both times on Ruins and on Well, they actually lost the opening fight. They lost the opening skirmish, but once they got back in control of the point, they never let it go, really. I think there was a brief point where Nova did get control back on Ruins. It didn't last that long. I think they didn't even up the percentage. I might be a little bit off on that. It might have got around the same, but the point still stands that We're Eternal did a much better job of maintaining control of the point. I do want to credit Nova on the other side of that. There were some good creative plays that really took We're Eternal by surprise. I think it's quite fair to say we're going to have a pretty close series on our hands.
And part of what you do see in terms of adaptation, I didn't get to fully delve deep into this, but Amgio changing onto the Hanzo in a Super McCree bunker comp versus another Super McCree bunker composition. The Brigida actually doesn't do too much there. The Brigida does a lot if you're playing against a dive or another Ghost that wants to dive into you, or rather brawl into you. But because you're just poking long-range damage, first of all, the Hanzo is going to allow you to do a lot of that long-range damage. The second of all, the Dragon Strike is high value against another Orisa sort of defensive setup there. So you're covering sort of two bases there with one pick. And then on top of that, he manages to get a nice arrow headshot through while the shield is down, because they can burst that shield down quite easily, and specifically getting onto the McCree player on the other side. Such a massive pickup. And because they can do that, they win a fight, get the Dragon Strike up, win a couple of subsequent fights, and really just snowball themselves ahead. And you just never really saw the adaptation coming through from the Nova side. They kept the Brigida there as well. They wanted to try and keep playing that long-range damage, but all they really have is a McCree to contest that with. And it wasn't until towards the little bit of the end, Blue swapped up to Tracer in desperation. Actually had a great run, because the other thing is, there's no Brigida now for the We're Eternal Gaming side. They swapped to Hanzo, so the Tracer's kind of unlocked in that situation.
And it says a lot that actually their most successful fight was when they took that flank and got really up close using their Brigida that Blue was on at the time. Because, like you said, no defensive Brigida there makes it a lot more vulnerable to those closer range moves. And the McCree is okay going aggressive in those situations as well. It's the Hanzo that suffers for it, and you kind of turn that strength into a weakness. But Nova were really unable to repeat that kind of play, unfortunately. And it is one that actually works best when you aren't in control of the point anyway. And actually, one thing, by the way, you totally cannot discount that I do think took Nova a bit by surprise was the Dragon Strike Halt combo. Dragon Strike Halt combo, rather. Just because it keeps you locked in there.
It does, and I think the way, the adaptation that you probably should have seen out of Nova is, without changing your whole comp or anything like that, just change the Orisa, the Nexus player, Nexus on Orisa over to probably a Winston at this stage, because you just want to be able to dive onto the other team. They don't have a Brigida, they just have a flashbang, so the kind of counter damage or the threat against you diving in is a lot lower. So if you play something like the Winston, or even the Ryan, to be really honest with you, and make those kind of flanks, or just make very aggressive plays. They don't have the Brigida protection. They've got two DPSs, a Hanzo and a McCree. Both of those could melt pretty easily if you get into them, which is basically what Nova did with an Orisa on their team. So if they just made one adaptation, one hero swap, just like what We're Eternal did with their DPS, they would have probably been in a much better spot.
And the McCree is still relatively safe there. That's the thing. The reason you don't want to swap off that Orison usually is because you want that shield there, and then you also want to be able to have the supercharger for your McCree. But actually, it's only their DPS that's contesting your McCree in that situation. But at any rate, all's well that ends well if you're a We're Eternal fan. Now, moving forward onto Hybrid, the pick for Nova is going to be Hollywood. Wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit more of that bunker composition coming out of both of these teams.
Now, I do want to have a little bit of a throwback here to week 1 when we did see Group A as well. Xavier versus We're Eternal Gaming. It was map 1 on the control that We're Eternal Gaming did win. But from there, it was Xavier taking the 3 to the 1. They got the next 3 maps in a row. So for Nova here, they have the opportunity to kind of do the same. If they don't have a bit of a blunder or assault like Xavier did, they have to then rescue it. And for We're Eternal Gaming, this might be now, depending on the results of the next few maps, it might just be a case of they're a very good control team, but can they win on the other game modes? Because so far, we haven't seen that.
And if I'm not mistaken as well, actually, one of the maps that Nova lost against Talon, do correct me if I'm wrong, I do believe they lost the control. Actually, I'm now second-guessing myself.
Sure.
So I'm now second-guessing that, so don't take that as gospel. But if it is the case, then it also could be a factor that maybe Nova isn't as strong on that control. I don't believe it is the case, though. So like I said, definitely don't hold me to it.
Yeah, and so now going into a map like Hollywood, I think, first of all, the Overwatch is still going to be quite useful here for that A defense. Hanzo is still potentially quite useful here as well, but as we head into the map now, I do want to see how the teams are going to be able to adapt, because based on Group B's teams last night, especially on the Hollywood, saw a lot of different compositions, a lot of different things.
You know, one of the compositions we saw a bit of, partially because of Carefree, we saw a lot more Widowmaker, and we saw some Genji coming out as well. And that is actually something I would say Nova can play quite comfortably if they do want to.
It's going to be the Winston Goat starting up from Nova here against the McCree bunker comp with the Junkrat as well, so there's going to be a lot of spam damage here. If this push doesn't work out for Nova, they may have to consider changing up.
Nice move for now by Nova. Haven't taken too many grenades as the dive comes in. Amgyo and Jasmine, they do back up, but Grace has gone down, traded back with Crazy S's Meg, but they lose the back line, and now the front line starts to fall without the healing dares. So very clean dive from Nova to completely dislodge that high ground. Oyo's the MVP of the fight there. That's going to be the card capped.
You can see that actually no one on Nova went down. They had some low health bars. If you look at Amgyo, he ended on 87% ult charge on the Rip Tire. So he actually did a lot of damage. Usually if you did 100% ult charge damage, you probably got a few targets down. But in terms of actual focus fire, it seems like We're Eternal Gaming just couldn't quite pin down a few of the Nova members. They got that flank around the bottom side of the cafe, came around, took down Jasmine, and that was probably it.
And let's be honest with ourselves as well, Nova did just look really comfortable there. This is more what we kind of expect out of them. It's on We're Eternal to answer back. They immediately flank and find Oyo, but going to lose Grace for their trouble. Junwoo is going to be able to back off and stay safe, but Nexus is keeping the pressure on the flank. Eventually, it breaks, and Junwoo goes down. Now Nova going to rout We're Eternal Gaming and keep the payload rolling.
It's just a little bit of a late commit there from We're Eternal, and you see the jump in there from Ison, the slowness for the rest of the We're Eternal squad, including Amgyo, to kind of come through the small doors. By then, the damage was done by Nova Esports, who are now sitting on 4 ultimates, soon to be about 5 or nearly even 6. We're Eternal Gaming, they had to recharge because they swapped compositions. This one's still going to be a very difficult fight for them.
Now We're Eternal, and not really a lot to go on. Even going to be quite difficult to stop up Blue's grab unless Kana gets a great eat, but nice moves by Blue. Forces the Diva out, then throws the grab onto the rest of the members here. Instant cleanup from the rest of Nova. Didn't need to use the self-destruct for it, just able to collect the kills.
You can see that Junwoo just got his Transcendence up as he died as well. So for We're Eternal Gaming, this is going to be a point loss for them because they had to change compositions. They then didn't get any ult charge, didn't get enough trades. They don't get any kills from that, not enough ult charge. They might just get spawn capped again as they're coming out.
That's the thing, they're still not actually in a great position ult-wise once again, and Nova just absolutely clean up We're Eternal Gaming. Charging up even more of those ultimates. Man, that was nearly a team kill. Only Kana got out.
And by the way, this is now 4 fight wins in a row. After 3 fight wins in a row, Nova Esports got beat. Now after 4, they're about to get a decent amount of card movement, I would say, into C. But you're at the stage now for We're Eternal where they are coming up on ultimates. Ison now changing onto Orion for this final section as well. This grab needs to be absolutely huge, but both Restia and Oyo are ready to counter.
Crazy S takes some pain, but they look to get into the mix here. Double rally to come out, and Jasmine looking for the angle on the grab. There it is onto Restia and Nexus. Self-destruct out from Kana. No one can really block it, so it does find Oyo. And the rest of the members a bit too low. So We Are Eternal, they have finally found that defensive fight when they needed, thanks to those ultimates that they'd banked.
You can actually see that Nova are happy to just take this loss here. There's an option for them to actually maintain, or rather to maintain that push by using support ultimates. But what they're trying to do is, I guess, maintain these ultimates so that they can now use them for this final push, because We Are Eternal are now kind of still running out a bit of steam here. They do have double support ultimates as well, so maybe Blue needs to be careful about this ultimate. If he can get a good graviton, it'll still be very good.
Yeah, should be able to counter out the grab, but that is a big should. Actually, early Transcendence from Junwoo and also Oyo. So they just kind of scrap on the payload. Blue might be able to get a good angle on a grab. There he goes, onto the team. Grace throws out the sound barrier, and Amgio does get charged out in the midst of that. Earth Shatter from Nexus, unfortunately, only meets Ison's shield, but Ison has now lost his life, and these tanks have kind of had to turn tail and run. Jasmine throws out the grab, but
they
not
need
able
damage.
to throw up the damage himself, and there's no one else there to follow up on it, so Jasmine will lose his life. They do at least trade Oyo out, and Crazy S lost the mech. Now Restia down to a self-destruct, so We Are Eternal. This is a pretty salvageable situation.
And Nova, they just keep dropping members here left, right, and center. One's going to go down as well. The initial Graviton Surge actually didn't do that much damage. It actually didn't do that much in terms of pressure either. It was the following subsequent self-destruct kill onto Restia. They lose a healer. They just lose another member here. And then for Nova Esports, once you've only gone down to 4, then to 3, you've just lost that momentum onto the push. You have to reset. It was very good distance. But now in terms of economy, it's actually in We Are Eternal Gaming's favor. And Nova, they've hit a little bit of a brick wall.
At least for the time being, but you've got to consider 3 minutes is still plenty of time for Nova here. Coming up on a grab soon as well will be very nice for them if they can once again bait out Junwoo's Transcendence.
And they need to wait for this one. Blue's on 70 right now, so they don't want to get too aggressive just yet, but they are going to self-destruct.
Oh, Amgyo on his back with the charge. Nice Earth Shatter in response, though Nexus will not get back up. Ison able to charge him back against the wall. Nicely taken by We Are Eternal, just kind of absorbing that pressure and dishing it back double.
So part of the problem with using the self-destruct is now you can't really combo it with Blue for the grab self-destruction play, and for Crazy S, gonna have to wait for the staggered respawn as well. If Nova Esports didn't have to pull the trigger there, they could have just played more patiently, they could have played for the combo. The self-destruct honestly didn't get that much distance for them, and We Are Eternal counter so quickly with an Earth Shatter. Ison's already back onto 42.
That being said, Restia and Nova will both have ultimates up, and Blue does still have this grab that he's held onto for quite a while. Jasmine nearly has his, but they've got less defensive ultimates to deal with Blue's grab. This is the opportunity now for Nova. Go forward with the bash. Earth Shatter, very poor from Nexus, gets blocked out, and
awkward fight now.
Grace just immediately commits that sound barriers. Oyo's already used the Transcendence, and yeah, awkward indeed. Nova just kind of losing that ult lead that banked up.
And they kind of half trying to commit, but then realize they can't because they've already transcended. Nexus went down, the Earth Shadow went wide. And you're at the sort of stage where it's like, well, do we just use the Graviton anyway? Should we try and rescue this fight? Because now coming back in, the Earth Shadow and Transcendence down, they got grabbed themselves.
That's the grab self-destruct combo. It doesn't get the kills, but Nexus went down on the front line of that one anyway, and that's really the danger of it. The Reinhardt's got to turn the shield around, which leaves us back exposed to the rest of the team. We Are Eternal. Nice low economy fight. Nova are still behind in ultimates.
And this is now like 3, maybe 4 fights in a row for We Are Eternal Gaming, where they just continue holding on. This is going to be another stagger on Crazy S. Jasmine's fully lapped Blue by this stage. Got into the grab, already charging into the next one. Blue's still just waiting. And Crazy S, we're wondering where that self-destruct is right now. 53%, just still too far away from that combo. And for Blue, 1 Graviton Surge, I'm not sure it's going to be enough.
It's taken Crazy S so long to charge up this self-destruct. When you consider Blue could have used a grab and probably charged another by now. Huge Earth Shatter as Nexus dropped the shield. This is so rough. And this was probably the last chance for Nova to bank up those ultimates. Instead, We Are Eternal take the fight, get to charge up more of their own ultimates. Another huge stagger on Crazy S, who will only get back into the mech with about 65% towards that ultimate.
Yep.
He had 50 before that.
And we're now under 1 minute as well. 40 seconds left to go. 1 ultimate used there. Ison with the Earth Shatter. The rally's free from Amgyo, so I won't count that one. And for We Are Eternal Gaming, they're consistently winning these fights so cheap. Jasmine's on to 70 now. Blue's still on the same Graviton Surge. In this next fight, assuming Junwoo Transcendences, everyone stays alive, Jasmine's probably going to get another grab.
Nova trying to go for a wrap around here. Nexus goes down to ground first. They need to be careful how they play this. Getting onto the cart now. Nice move by We Are Eternal. They've swapped sides. This is a bit dangerous now for Nova. They're in a difficult situation. Any casualty they get will respawn in behind them. They've dropped dropped Ison. Transcendence from Junwoo. They need to find more.
Let's go,
It's Blue. That's got to be it. The self-destruct grab combo. They finally find Amgo, Junwoo, Jasmine. They all start dropping like flies. We Are Eternal have finally been broken here as the overtime begins for Nova. Moving that cart forward, but We Are Eternal will get around to respawns. It will be Sans Kana with that late DMAC. Double bump with that charge means Ison's going to be the casualty. That focus fire, excellent from Nova, and the cap does barely slip through. That was nearly a full hold, but it was nearly a lot more time on the clock as well for Nova.
And We Are Eternal Gaming taking a bit of a risk there with the long flank around. What they're trying to do is get control of the card into their hands, so you don't have Nova Esports contesting it, you don't have Nova Esports pushing it or really benefiting it from the passive healing. The problem there is they're also playing themselves into a bit of a dangerous place where they're still waiting for their own grab. Jasmine didn't quite have it yet. Ison gets super low and picked out. Junwoo feels panicked. He feels like he needs to save Ison there. Probably the right call to do, but doesn't quite manage to save his life. The Transcendence already popped out. Guess what? Now Blue is ready to ult. He's been saving this game-winning Graviton Surge. Pops it out there. No response. There's no Transcendence. Sound barrier is not available. Jasmine dies on 99% Graviton Surge as well. And suddenly, in terms of timing, it goes all wrong for We Are Eternal.
It's been quite fascinating so far because Nova were absolutely dominant and completely unstopped up until that very point where suddenly it looked like We Are Eternal were going to be completely unbreakable. The fact that Nova actually did get through at the end almost felt like a bit of a miracle in itself. Now look, it was just a well-played fight. You've got to give credit where it's due, but again, these are just two very close-run teams.
And now I got to say, I criticized Nova Esports a little bit earlier for not being patient. This time I got to say the same thing for We Are Eternal Gaming. They could have played for the timer there. They knew that Nova Esports are the ones pressured by time. We Are Eternal Gaming should have just been happy to wait it out just a little bit longer, get that Graviton Surge from Jasmine, have a little bit more threat onto their side, and then be able to fully hold on to C. That was well within their grasp, and I think that now they kind of let this one go over. Nova finishes the map, but they probably shouldn't have.
This is where Nova do have a good opportunity to force a win in their favor, and that's by getting a much longer defense on point A. If they can run down more of that clock, they won't need a miracle defense like what We Are Eternal just had.
This time around, we see the same sort of compositions we saw last time. And We Are Eternal Gaming, the Rhine version of this, just going to try and break through the small choke here. Watch the damage coming out from one. This is what's going to tell you how much is coming through.
Both teams just kind of swapping sides to begin with, and still no casualties on any of those rotations so far. So We Are Eternal are on the point. It's going to be up to Nova to start getting in and contesting. But Ison, few too many grenades, and this is the opportunity for Nova to get aggressive. They do need to make sure one stays alive, and he is indeed going to stay alive. It's Nexus who goes down. Able to reset, he'll be able to rejoin the team, and one's going to have a riptide for the next fight.
A smart rotations through from Nova Esports as well. They see the long flank coming from We Are Eternal Gaming. They know they have time to get onto the opposite high ground there. You do now have double DPS ultimates, one with the full Riptire charge as well. This is going to be a very interesting ultimate. If you can get a lot of damage done, get some supports done as well, this is going to be another easy fight win for Nova Esports. They can snowball this defense quite easily now. Not even close to an ultimate on the We Are Eternal side.
Nexus has been able to rejoin the team in time. All
same flank.
Pretty decent position for now.
Nova going to do the same thing as well, I suspect.
Again, no one going down on the rotation for We Are Eternal. You really just want to give a good angle for that Riptire. Might have been a little bit preemptive, because actually We Are Eternal just back up. This time might just run out before they find anyone. Choke coming from the top. It goes wide.
To be honest, though, they do buy a decent amount of time there. It gives Nova a better chance to set up, which isn't the worst thing to the world. They still do have a Nano Boost coming up and a Deadeye, but otherwise, not getting a kill is slightly disappointing.
Yeah, here is that rotation, though, from We Are Eternal, and same thing from Nova as before. Shields all up to block out the Deadeye, looking for angle. That bump was really deadly for We Are Eternal. Blue down on the low ground with that Nano Boost running. He's very separated from his team, trying to rejoin them. Got a good number of shots onto Kana, forces him into cover. And Nova are still coming up on some ultimates, but so We Are Eternal now. They've kind of weathered the storm. Self-destruct finds Grace, though. That's a nice opening pick with Junwoo's Transcendence now run out. Oyo can commit its own, and Nova can keep on the pressure. One's about to come up on another Riptire as well, just trying to find more casualties as Kana self-destructs to reach. It's one on the top side, and Restia as well, and that alone has just totally swung it, with Nova so close to being able to continue the defense. We Are Eternal will finally get control.
And that was so tricky as well. Nova Esports maybe nearly got that one back again. One just coming up with the Riptire, dies at about 97%. And We're Eternal as well, the way they were moving around the map, the only real big mistake is they didn't pressure Blue once he dropped to the low ground. They maybe could have killed them right then and there, but for We're Eternal Gaming, still pressured one onto the low ground following that, and then suddenly for Nova Esports, they lost their Bastion of defense, they lost their positioning, and now this Riptire, surely this Riptire.
It's got to hit, and it's got to hit hard, but they haven't
Coming
seen
from
it
too far
coming.
away.
Yeah, no, it's just too spotted out, and that's the thing. We're Eternal knew it was coming, could just back up. Again, it does burn some time off the clock, but not really enough. One, he's going to have to change eventually, but he didn't have time to for now, so he's kind of stuck on the Junkrat.
This is a really awkward position to play Junkrat. You'll know a lot of his damage is not going to stick as well as it could have.
As you say that, Ison does take a few too many grenades. I think they didn't actually respect that the Junkrat was still a factor, funny enough, and the sound barrier in a little bit late. We're Eternal will probably have to cede some ground here. Actually losing Crazy S, and Nexus is quite low, so We're Eternal is just going to stay in this. They've got the closer respawn.
The problem is, the concussive mines are the real damage dealers here for one onto the high ground, but if, after he's used both charges, the grenades are not actually really hitting there, so Ison goes down, but no further damage coming through. The 67% afterwards, you're not going to see anything. We're Eternal Gaming clean up the low ground, the 6v5, continue pushing through. Now you got support ultimates from the extra healing. The Graviton Surge available as well. Nova Esports still just waiting.
And one's actually still not swapped. They're all now caught up in this grab as Oyo pops a Transcendence. Nexus low, barely getting healed up there in time. That does mean they're into the thick of the fight. This is where spam damage can win out, but Jasmine has got a lot of charge in pocket. Going to be able to find Blue. Now Nexus drops down and the tanks are compromised. One throws out the Riptire, but again, it's going to be huge. It does get Jasmine, but that's really not enough in this situation. One is going to have to swap. He's already been on the Junkrat too long.
And just one kill on the Riptide does not justify the pick, unfortunately. Not having the Brigadier in this comp for Ryan Goats is pretty detrimental. It means that in that Ryan versus Ryan, there is a huge advantage for We're Eternal Gaming with Amgo on the Brigadier, especially setting up Ison for the Earth Shatters as well. For Nova Esports, if Nexus wants to push up, he's going to get shield bash, he's going to go down, and one's still just not really doing anything on the Riptide, on the Junkrat. So now changing onto the Brigadier, finally, they're going to be able to contest properly.
Probably let that cap go over in less time than they really wanted. But Nova with these ultimates, oh dear, Grav got eaten up by Kana. It's going to say that was a tool they needed to help secure this defense. Anchored in somehow self-destruct, still gets Oyo. Nexus couldn't block that. And then throws a shatter straight into Ison's shield. Now the fight breaks out in earnest as Crazy S already popped out of the mech. And Nova just blew their chance at a defense. We Are Eternal get the win, charge up the ultimates, and keep momentum on their side.
And that's the thing, because the Earthshatter actually still caught Oyo onto the side. The self-destruct coming on through just a little bit later than that. Oyo's still onto his back. If Oyo actually survives and he had not been taken down by the Earthshatter, I suppose, maybe he gets a Transcendence there, maybe Nova Esports still can contest here, and they get this Graviton Surge out of Jasmine. Because they don't, though, the grab can now be used for the final push.
Now Nova need to play for time. They want to push this to the overtime if they can, given that we're likely going to cut time bank.
It's a big grab.
Nice block up though, stops any follow-up damage, and they could throw a self-destruct in there out of Kana. The Earthshatter gets a good couple of members, but still no casualties. Nexus finally goes down. Junwoo pops the Transcendence as they try and get aggressive here now, but We Are Eternal, they've run out of ultimates. They're just trying to out.
Yeah, but they got kills.
Point. Blue has kind of run around a little bit, and the kill on one is nice, but the respawn starts to come through now as Ison gets low. Amgyo is finally going to get picked up. The self-destruct forward from Kana. Oh, Blue. Catches Blue. That's big. That was a Transcendence that Nova sorely needed. Earthshatter from Nexus. He got bumped back. It does not connect as Crazy S gets dropped. Nova's still waiting for respawns.
And now this is where Blue does come back into the mix as well. If he can land this Graviton Surge, it's going to be absolutely huge because they're losing so many more other members.
Oh, charge nearly caught Grace. He's able to get finally taken out by Nexus's hammer there. Swinging high, swinging low. Ison, speaking of low, a little bit lean on health, but saved by Junwoo's Transcendence. Earthshatter is decent, but they're stuck in the grab. Can't follow
Jasmine's
it up.
Ready.
Nexus and Crazy S are so low, and Jasmine's grab catches those low members. They're going to fall down. They do trade back with Amgyo, but it's too little too late. And with plenty of time to spare, We Are Eternal going to move that cart, those few extra movements towards the cap.
And this is going to be it. Nova Esports, no one left to contest. And for We Are Eternal Gaming, massive snowball players coming through from B onto C. And they're just continuing to push through, unlike Nova Esports, which had an insane A push, insane B push, got to C, got a decent amount of distance, then just ran out of steam. it's We're Eternal Gaming that just find the good plays, the Graviton Surge, into the Earth Shadow. And the Earth Shadow wasn't ready, by the way. The Grav actually set up the Earth Shadow for Ison because he got all his ult charge off the Graviton Surge, lands the Shadow onto everybody, barely saved by OWC's Transcendence. And then after that, members still went down. We're Eternal Gaming still cleaned up. They still got kills. Jasmine got another Grav. Blue died with Grav. Couldn't use it to defend. Had to respawn. Use it in a little bit of a compromising factor. Not enough members to really capitalize. And We're Eternal Gaming just kept on pushing through. They had the members. They had the respawns. And Nova were constantly waiting for reinforcements.
It's interesting, both teams kind of threw away that B stretch on the defense, but for quite different reasons. We're Eternal did it because they had to swap and weren't able to charge up ultimates. Nova just kind of kept the ult economy in their favor. Nova gave it up because they didn't swap and ended up not having an effective team composition and maybe could have taken more time off the clock if they had. Now the best they can hope for here is a tie, which still leaves Nova behind in the series as a whole.
And the other thing is, when you consider how the C defense ended up, We're Eternal Gaming particularly probably should have held that one. They would have already won this, so this could be a 2-0 for them already. It can still be a 2-0 for them. They just have to complete this push.
And only 1/3 as well, pretty achievable. Jasmine just goes forward to scout out, just in case they want to swap up the team comp. Ooh.
This is good for when you only have 45 seconds. This could be the one comp that does it.
And that's what they were doing. They were scouting, okay, is it the same bunker comp? This is what we've got planned for it. Going to be setting up a bastion here. I want to see how this works out for them. Setting it up on the low ground first. They want to take down the shield and put the pressure on.
And this is where for Nova Esports, they got to do something about this bastion. They're trying to relocate currently, but they have to contest the point. If you contest the point, though, you're eating a lot of damage.
And Nova don't have members who can dive and move forward. They do get a good catch onto Junwoo, and that puts the pressure on. Grace as well is low. If they can take the healers, they're in for a shot. But Grace, he's been able to get some cover. He's healing back up. They find Jasmine. Nice move by Crazy, yes. And it should start to fall apart here. Rez, though, on Jasmine. Kind of loses the mech. Nova kind of holding tight for now. Not close enough to these ultimates. And now we are Eternal. They can't play the long game. They can't sit back and siege. Someone's got to touch the point. No one's going to touch the point. It's going to go to a draw on Hollywood.
I got to say, Restia might be the MVP of that dime bank as well. He got a sleep dart onto Junwoo, lands a bit of damage, and then the Bioner. That's actually what gets the original kill. And the thing with the Bastion is it needs a lot of support. It needs a lot of protection. Then the DMAC comes as well. And when Kana goes down, you don't have the defensive matrix. You want to be setting up the Bastion. Suddenly, the damage mitigation is not there. You don't have DM anymore. You don't have the Ana heals. You don't have your own Bionades and all of that. And the Bash is just kind of left out into the open. He goes down as well. Jasmine gets resurrected. Basically goes down again. It just all falls apart as quick as it starts. And the thing is, it comes down to that first pick. A nice lead up out of nowhere from Restia sets everything up.
And it was a bit of a tight spot altogether for Nova. Like, it kind of feels like, as much as they didn't lose, it kind of feels like they clutched defeat from the jaws of victory. Just when you consider how absolutely unstoppable they looked on point A, but then they just struggled so much against We Are Eternal's defense. Now, a lot of that is We Are Eternal playing well, but when you also consider how long it took Crazy S to charge up a single self-destruct, I believe it was Blue on the Zarya, held on to a grab for about 3 or 4 fights in a row, none of which Crazy S had a self-destruct for. That's what they were holding on to it for. They wanted a combo. And then when you look at this time bank situation, it's now a draw. This is actually match point in favor of We Are Eternal.
And it just goes both ways as well, because on one hand, We Are Eternal Gaming also taking advantage. They got super cheap fights, 1 shatter, and the rally, again, the rally's free anyway. 1 grab is all you need, just 1 ult, and then, you know, at most 2 ults to win a single fight. Meanwhile, Nova Esports, just the discipline just seemed like it went out the window. They're like, okay, well, we have a decent amount of time to play with, and all the extra time they bought after getting A and B quickly, it all went down the drain, because it took them until overtime to actually get that final play through. And I still think We're Eternal Gaming probably should have held C, because they had the right ults to do it with. They had the right positioning and everything. Kind of gave that one away. Forced a draw anyway. It does, like you said, still put We're Eternal Gaming onto match point, which means when we come back from the break, Nova Esports do need to start bringing things around, or this is going to be a game victory for We're Eternal Gaming. We'll find out what happens, though, right after this break.